with the core of the economy being the machine building industry that provides all the elements for self-development of these economies. And this was made official, is known as the Declaration of April 1964. The leader of Romania was invited to the Soviet Union. It was the Secretary General of the Communist Party of Romania, Gheorghe Gheorghiu. He had a visit of 7 days in Moscow for clarifications. Returned from there, and within 2 months he died of an unknown disease. And then followed Ceausescu, that somehow continued the trend to develop a multilateral developed economy in Romania based upon machine building as the core of the Romanian industry. Then, of course, this industry needed electricity, so many power stations have been developed on different rivers of Romania, including the Danube. And what is important, all the equipment for the power station, no matter they were hydro or thermal power stations, have been produced by the Romanian national economy. And certainly all the industry to produce such was developed. So by 1970s, Romania developed an industry that was capable to produce 16 million tons of steel a year in several centers, in Galați, in Reșița, in Hunedoara, and the latest one was in Călăraș. Then Romania produced tractors, about 300,000 units a year of different capacities. There was in Bucharest an industry to produce agricultural machines, so harvesting, seeding, automated plows, and all kind of fertilizers, sprayers. Then an important woodworking machines to process the valuable raw material in the country, the wood. And here I think it's good to say that Romanian forest, which covered about 28% of the country's territory, and having a natural growth of 33 million cubic meters of wood, was an important resource that would be valued. So woodworking industries have been developed. Then industries that produced woodworking machines have been developed. It was a military industry that produced armament and ammunition for the needs of the Romanian army, but also for export. They say that Romania was the most important competitor of the Soviets on this market. In Romania, MiG-21 was produced successfully and equipped with Rolls-Royce engines. And certainly agriculture continued. Everything looked very nice. Most of the Romanian industry was developed in such a way that with 30% of their capacities to cover the domestic needs and 70% of their production to be exported. To face such a responsibility. Specialized foreign trade companies have been started with financial assistance provided by a specialized foreign trade bank, and everything seemed to work well, except the social life and others, of course, but the social life probably suffered most because it was an atmosphere of fear. People were afraid to speak freely. There was a big difference between what the people believed, what the people thought, and what the people spoke about. It was a freedom of spirituality. In the Romanian parliament of the communist period, there was a group of 17 priests that were always in the attention of the television that broadcasted these meetings of the National Assembly of Romania, the parliament of the communist period. Some of the voice of the church was heard. That's why in Romania continued to be kept a spiritual life. The Romanian would go to church to get married. The Romanian would go to church to baptize the children, and also to bury the deceased persons in their families. In Romania continued to exist monasteries, probably more for propaganda than from tolerance. There were 2 monasteries, and there are still today, with very numerous population. The one in Agapia with a population of about 600 members of the religious community, nuns, and another one, Varatek, with about 500 nuns living together in monastic villages. Certainly the communists didn't encourage people to go to church, but they didn't stop. And the ones that were too fervent, of course, didn't have a great career ahead of them. When I first read 1984 of George Wells. George Orwell. I felt that that's the atmosphere in this country. Even if it was not so, so much in the view, but the way people felt was very close to the way the people in that society described by Orwell.
Tell us about the revolution.
Well, by and by, the sympathy of the communist leaders was lost, no matter the populist methods they tried, not only in Romania but also around the world, around the East European bloc. People in this country started hating their leaders. In 1989, there were movements reported in most of the East European countries. Romania was one where the communist regime seemed to resist. On the 4th of December, there was a meeting in Mediterranean on a battleship between the American president and the Soviet leader Gorbachev. 14 days later, on the 18th, there was an attempt for revolution in Iași, and then immediately in Timișoara they reported a demonstration of sympathy for a priest that turned into a street demonstration. Military forces had been directed there to take control of the situation. Even what we called National Guards. This was an organization created by Ceausescu to turn an aggression against Romania into a war of all the people. So that most of the industrial units, there were uniforms, there was armament without ammunition, and there were military-like units following the example of the army that had been created, that had commanders. They were constituted in battalions, regiments, divisions, and they were supposed to act as support of the regular army. But the army that was sent against the people of Timișoara didn't have the expected results, and Ceausescu on the 19th of December left Romania with 4 airplanes, they said, to Tehran, the capital of Iran, to have a meeting with 5 Arab leaders according to a secret agreement, Plan Z, signed by these leaders to help each other in case of an uprisal of their people. He returned from Tehran on the 20th of December, made the report in the television trying to get the sympathy and support of the people. He was not very sure that the effect was the one that he wanted. The one that he had in 1968, when in a similar meeting in front of 150,000 people of Bucharest in the square of the Royal Palace took place. So advice was given to him to try a similar direct contact with the people. And that was organized on the 21st of December. Brought in this square, central square of Bucharest, the square of the palace, since then called the square of the Romanian Revolution. The streets that entered this square have been closed by lines of policemen. The meeting should have started early in the morning, but finally, around midday, the communist leader appeared in the balcony and he opened his speech. But 10 minutes later, the demonstration of sympathy was turned into a general protest of the people in the square. Down with the butcher, down with the dictator, were slogans that became frequent. Then the square was evacuated, but the people gathered in other places of Bucharest, like the square of the university, like the Roman Square, and continued the protests. On the 22nd, early in the morning at 11 o'clock, they reported in the radio that the National Defense Australia suicided. And this is the moment when the army took the side of the demonstrators and against the dictator. The dictator escaped from the Central Committee of the Communist Party building with a military helicopter, together with the Prime Minister and his wife, Elena Ceausescu. Flew to the Palace of Snagov, the weekend palace, from where Elena, his wife, took some valuable papers. Later on, it was believed that were the documents connected with the secret banking accounts. $2 billion that have been stolen from public money by the dictators and put in secret banking accounts in Switzerland. Then she returned with the documents to the helicopter, tried to continue the escape to a place called Botet, where supposedly a secret underground airport was built with a jet plane prepared 24 hours a day, 12 months a year for escape. But they didn't reach this place, Botet, because they had been arrested on the way and kept in the city of Târgoviște, where in a military barrack a quick trial in front of a court-martial was arranged. They have been accused of genocide, of ruining the national economy, of stealing public money. By the end of the day, have been found guilty, sentenced to death. And before midnight, it was the Christmas day, they had been executed, being shot by a large group of militaries of that military unit. And then the new period started with a new power that is changing different political governments, political parties in the government. It was a constitutional period of 2 years. I need to look for, yes, sorry, because we go and see Peles Castle.